Today I'm going to provide my thoughts on oscillating multi-tools. I'm doing a remodel project and there is some thinset that I need to remove from between the tiles, and I thought this would be a good tool to have. Talked to some folks and they've said that they've found them really, really useful, so I wanted to give different ones a try. I've got 4 here, 2 Ridgid Jobmax, one's a cordless 18 volt, one's the corded, Bosch MX30E, and Fein Multimaster. That's the quick start, the cheapest of them. I started with this Ridgid here because I've got a Ridgid drill and impact driver that I like a lot and some batteries that go with it. The really big thing with the Ridgid is it's got a top that you can change out, and you can get different tops for this. Things like impact drivers, drills. The other thing that it allows you to do is you actually can reposition. You can see that you can get this in different positions here. So the thing that I don't like particularly about this tool is the fact that it's got a trigger that you have to hold. That makes it surprisingly annoying for holding on, even if you're not doing it very long. I thought it would be okay. It wasn't as good as I was hoping. Same thing applies to the corded model. The Bosch here is the heaviest of the tools by quite a ways, actually. I like its quick change mechanism. I like the fact that there's nothing to lose at all, and basically just pushes those pins together. You pop the piece on there and then drop it down. One of the people I talked to that use these a lot say that they reposition the blade on the tool quite a bit. That's why they highly recommend the quick change blade. And Fein also has a quick change blade. It's a little different, but also very good. You pop that off, and then there's a piece here that pops off. You put back in, and then you pop that down. So one of the advantages to both the Ridgid and the Fein that I forgot to mention is that they seem to take any of the blades. So either one of those worked with the Ridgid, the Bosch, or the Fein blades. The Bosch, it only worked with the Bosch blades. I know there are other brands that you can get on there for that interface, but in this test it only worked with the Bosch blades. So what I did for this test is I used one of the Bosch blades, one of the segmented wood metal blades, and I cut basically some cuts into a piece of 1x wood. I drew some lines. I wanted to see how straight I could make the cuts and how fast they would make the cuts. I started with this tool here. One of the things when I decided to get cordless was I thought it would be really convenient to have, but I realized that some of the tasks you might do with an oscillating tool may drain the battery very quickly. That said, I did do a test on this, and the battery ran for a solid 40 minutes with a 1.5 amp hour battery before it quit. I thought that was actually pretty good. This guy does not have a quick change chuck also, I should mention. So this guy and this guy, what I did was I said, okay, I'm going to give myself a minute to see how much wood I can cut and how straight the cut would be. Both of these guys cut almost exactly the same. I didn't notice a big power difference in the corded model, though I'm sure it probably is, and in some situations that might be more noticeable. In a minute, both of these got about halfway through the wood, almost exactly the same. Not a huge difference there. So I switched then to the Bosch. I was actually amazed. Within 30 seconds, it cut its way all the way through the wood, and the Multimaster did the same thing. So there was a slight difference between those two, but probably the difference was just in my not really knowing how to use the two tools. Once I did that, I wanted to see, okay, which one of those two could I control better? The difference was so huge in the way that that cut, in my opinion, that it kind of put these aside. I was actually hoping to be able to use one of the Ridgid's much less expensive tool. I'm just a homeowner, not going to use it all the time. But the difference in cut to me was just unbelievable. So I tried both of the Fein and the Bosch and saw how fine of a line that I could cut here, how straight I could make it. And for me, it was easier to control the Bosch. I set them both to their lowest setting to try to control that. It was easier for me to control the Bosch. I'm not sure if that's because it's got a slightly lower oscillations per minute at its lowest setting, or just my techniques, probably just my technique. But given that, I did decide to go ahead and go with the Bosch tool. I don't think you could go wrong with either one of these. I didn't test other ones. They seem to be the two that are the best reviewed in the marketplace. There are probably other ones that work just as well, and honestly these Ridgid ones would work too, and if you really wanted to have that interchangeable head, I think it would be a pretty good value, honestly. But for me, I wanted an oscillating tool that worked as well as it could, and clearly this is a bit of a compromise in terms of the way that oscillating tool works.